What happens when the avoidant realizes they have lost you? So I've been coaching a lot of clients who are going through breakups, and almost every one of them asks me the same questions. Is he even thinking about me? Does he even care? Will he come back? When will he come back? If this sounds like you're in the right place, I'm going to help you understand what's really going on in his mind. If he's avoidant attached, to give you some clarity and ease of mind so you can actually move forward in confidence, because uncertainty is one of the things that can drive us crazy, and certainty can help us a little bit to move on and to ease our anxiety a little bit. So a quick note about what is actually an avoidant attachment style before I dive into that. Hi, I'm Yula. I'm the Anxious to Secure coach, and welcome to the Anxious to Secure podcast. Disclaimer, I'm not a therapist or doctor. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or heal any mental health condition. If you're in an abusive relationship or dealing with severe mental health challenges, always seek professional advice. So an avoidant attachment style is when someone fears closeness, highly appreciate and need independence. So their nervous system interprets emotional intimacy as being very risky. So they minimize attachment needs and push people away, often very unconsciously, so they're not aware of this. And this comes, of course, from early experiences with their caregivers, their mom often or their dad, where they felt closeness was unsafe. It felt very overwhelming or very unreliable. Think of it like an internal alarm system. So they aren't ignoring you to hurt you, but their brain is just protecting them, just as a way of you feeling very safe and protected and physical closeness. But the avoidant is exactly opposite. They feel very safe through distance, through independence, through freedom. So anything that could make them feel trapped or being vulnerable makes them feel very unsafe. So how does this all lead to a breakup? Because their brain associates closeness with danger, avoidants often create a distance, even in a healthy, happy relationship. They may cancel plans or maybe even go silent to prioritize their independence in ways that leave their partner feeling confused or rejected or unheard. And over time, these repeated withdrawals can rebuild tension and frustration. The partner may often feel unimportant, unloved, while the avoidant feels pressured and overwhelmed, especially in this dynamic if they are together with an anxious attached person, like I guess you are if you're listening to this podcast. And the more closeness you want, the more triggered they are and the more space they want. This push and pull, which is also called, it's very typical this dynamic, will eventually lead to this breaking point. The avoidant withdraws more and more to feel safe, while the anxious comes closer and closer and wants to solve this and wants more closeness and ask for things, which is normal, but they just clash and they're both trying to get their needs met, but they are just not hearing each other's sides out. They don't understand how and why the other person just needs something else to feel safe. And they can't meet in the middle and eventually might come to a breakup. So you're left asking maybe, why did this happen? Do they even care? Why have they discarded me? And understanding why they pull away helps to really make sense of the breakup as well and sets the stage of healing. So first, why they pull away. So they have really this huge fear of being vulnerable, and it comes really from childhood wounds. So the dismissive avoidant grew up learning this closeness equals danger. Yeah, depending on someone really felt very unsafe. So their brains built this in as a survival strategy, avoiding getting too close to people, no matter if it's their parents or friends or romantic partners. And their nervous system's wired to see intimacy as a threat, even when nothing big is happening in the relationship. So their subconscious constantly weighs connection versus safety. And they're hyper focused on independence, on traveling, on getting this need for independence needs somehow through work or through hobbies, because that feels controllable, unlike closeness, which triggers old fears of being overwhelmed, enmeshed, or even, abandoned. So maybe you plan a cozy weekend with him together, but then they want to make it very short. Or you had the idea of spending the whole weekend together, but in their mind, they just thought, okay, it's going to be just like a 2-hour thing. And then they spend time on their own again. Or you just wanted to plan like an evening where you just hang out on the couch, watch Netflix, and just cuddle together. But his idea of spending the evening together is more sitting on the other opposite side in the living room. And there's no closeness, nothing cute, nothing romantic, and feels very like cold distance. And again, attachment styles are all on spectrum. For example, my partner who's avoidant, who wouldn't just ghost me for a couple of days, he's still consistently there. So it's important to notice it's all happening on a spectrum. Some people are just overwhelmed with too much. My partner still needs lots of space and things for himself. He does still focus on going for walks or a run or being on his what's called Steam Deck. But it's not that he suddenly ghosts me or needs, or I don't know, takes off something like this. So I think there can be a huge difference between how avoidant is he and do you live with him together, and does he give you the silent treatment or something like this? So just as a quick disclaimer here. And basically their mind is screaming closeness means danger, can't be close to you, I can't be around you. And it's just trying to protect them. Let's talk about the breakup relief and the delayed grief, what they're experiencing. So I would say their emotions are just more like a locked safe. Right after the breakup, they feel a sense of relief, actually. The anxious person really feels this enormous amount of pain, emotional pain. I have other episodes on why the breakup is so hard for an anxious attached person. But for the avoidant, first it's just like, oh, okay, I can breathe now. I'm not trapped anymore. So there's this enormous amount of relief first. This can last for a couple of weeks or even up to like 3 or 4 months, where they feel like finally there's no pressure. And this happens especially if they felt more trapped in the relationship. If the anxious was seeking lots of closeness and lots of reassurance and lots of things, if they are like, say, in air quotes, demanding lots of things from the avoidant, the more expectations the anxious had on the avoidant, the more relief they will feel now. And it's because that most of the emotions from the avoidance were kind of locked away, like valuables in a safe, because they really distract themselves with work and scrolling on social media or video games or friends and telling themselves it wouldn't have worked anyway. She was just too much. You were too much. And this is not denial. It's actually a subconscious coping mechanism, keeping their feelings secure until they can safely process them. They're really numbing themselves so much and avoiding all of the emotional to feel anything during the relationship and even after the breakup, so they don't have to cope with this. And that is really a survival strategy learned because of their upbringing, because feeling the emotions was not safe. Understanding this, I think, is a key aspect of this to avoid demonizing all avoidant attachment styles. Like your coping mechanism and your survival strategies, are different. They are really like wanting closeness, being hyper vigilant, or analyzing, overthinking, not being able to being alone. The avoidants really have learned to lock their emotions away in a safe and never to think about them until actually feels safe to do so. So then months later, maybe the lid is kind of loosening up slowly. The emotions they've been protecting so deeply starts to surface slowly, often quite unexpectedly. And here their nervous system finally allows them to grieve and longing and feel the sadness that kind of emerges. So this is why avoidants sometimes appear fine for weeks, but then experience a delayed crash and a little bit of depression as well. So, for example, 3 months later, they drive past your favorite coffee place or feel the tight knot in their chest as well, and then go back on trying to check out your Instagram story, what you're up to. They're not very direct and suddenly reach out or call you and say, hey, can we meet up? Hey, I'm really thinking about you. I miss you. They're usually more like indirect, and because again, they're very scared of being vulnerable, or they hear your song suddenly in the car and almost, they want to switch stations because it stirs up too many emotions. Vulnerability really triggers their nervous system a lot. In childhood, showing needs often led to shame or rejection. So now the subconscious teaches them to reconnect rather in a very safe way, in a very tiny way, in a very controlled ways. And it feels safe without like giving too much or opening up too soon, not to be hurt. So instead of directly saying, I'm thinking about you, this really sucks, can we chat? They rather leave tiny breadcrumbs again, like memes that tag you somewhere on social media, or these accidental run-ins at at the place you always shop, even though he would never shop there. Something like this. And their trauma teaches them that emotional openness really means danger. So small gestures let them engage with you without triggering their huge fear of being vulnerable. So now, unlike anxious partners who really, really hurt during the breakup and also during the relationship, avoidants actually suffer afterwards, like a few weeks and months after the breakup. Their initial relief is a protective shield, but it can't last forever. So once this novelty of independence fades, the reality usually hits and they feel the void. They do feel it. So they struggle because they don't know how to meet the emotional needs for themselves that you once provided. They don't often realize or don't even try to tell themselves that they do need relationships, because often they downplay it. They often say, yeah, I love to be alone. I love the single life. And they downplay really the fact that how much you really mean to them and how much love and connection is really important for them. They always pretend they don't care about all of these things, but they do care. They do miss you. They do want love and they do want connection. But it's just really hard for them to admit that as well. So they like find comfort in foods or binge watch TV or PlayStation or unhealthy ways to survive this pain and just to numb it and avoid it as long as possible until there's a point that it doesn't work anymore. So maybe while you would have cried daily for months, after the breakup, while they appeared fine when you meet them on the street or when you see them going out partying and see them tagged on social media somewhere, months later, they actually lie awake, can't sleep, but very stressed and are very triggered about everything because of the breakup. They really long for support, empathy, and reassurance, the very things that help them to feel safe as well, even though they would have never admitted. Now, before I share with you 4 things you can do to empower yourself in the situation, I want to offer you how you can work with me one-on-one, flexible support, which you support monthly, either via one-on-one video calls with me or via WhatsApp or Telegram. You can cancel any month. It's very flexible. You are not locked into any long-term program. I do have them as well, but I know for someone who wants certainty and is not sure if it's the right fit for you, you can just try it out for a month or two, see how it's actually helpful to open up to someone to, not just get reassurance and validation, but actually to learn, hey, you know what, how can I become securely attached in my relationships, in my dating life, to create your own sense of security. Because in truth is, you will never feel secure through someone else. You will never feel secure enough if you ask for more reassurance. You will never feel worthy enough because someone else gave you compliments. This only comes from within you if you heal your abandonment wounds, your unworthiness wounds, and you learn through methods that you are capable of handling these emotions. I have a 4R method that helps you really through all of these steps. So I help you to release the emotions. What helps me to feel grounded instead of letting anxiety take over. The second step is to rewire your stories and your limiting beliefs, like people believe me, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable enough, and I'm not capable of handling a divorce, handling a breakup, handling a rejection, handling this emotion, handling of being alone. And then the third step in this framework is reconnecting to your unmet needs. So if you have an anxious attachment style, there are certain needs unmet in your childhood, at least only met inconsistently. And we want to learn them to meet them independently ourselves, and then additionally learn to communicate from a healthy, rounded, secure way in our relationships and friendships and in our families. So we can then not communicate from a place of anxiety and demands and high expectations, but from a way of, hey, you know what? This is what I need. Can you meet me here? If not, then your abandonment wound will keep you in unhealthy, toxic relationships, or you only get breadcrumbs. And then the fourth step of this is like your hidden shadow parts. Often we suppress parts of ourselves from our childhood. We think, I don't want to be this anxious, I don't want to be this part. And then we lose ourselves, become different versions of ourselves because of our fears. If you have a fear of abandonment, you always lose yourself more and more and become a version of yourself of who you think other people want you to be. If you're interested in this, check out the links below to hop on a free call with me or email me to see if you're a right match for this. So let's dive into the 4 things you can do in this situation to empower yourself. Step number 1 is no contact. Yes, you heard right. No contact is very typical, but you don't do it for them. You do it for yourself. You don't do it to see, hey, will they come back to me? Will they reach out to me? Can we then reconnect? And maybe, I'm going to leave the door open to see if they come back. But you do it for you because let's say you're addicted to ice cream. Of course, you can't let go and move on. You have to remove the ice cream out of your freezer. So this is the only way how you can actually move on. That is not for anyone else. You do this for yourself. And this is a boundary and not a trick. So instead of obsessing over whether they will text or if they've seen your newest story or if they're already dating, you focus on you. You process emotions. You journal. You maybe even go on a solo trip. You dive into new hobbies. You allow yourself to fully process what's happening. Step 2, challenge the old stories and reframe them. 3, challenge the stories. Rewrite the old narratives like, if I was better, they would have stayed, into they weren't ready for closeness. For example, question your assumptions about blame or not being good enough. Could it be that they weren't capable of intimacy at this time? I have a whole cheat sheet that shows you how to challenge your own beliefs and stories, because that's really important. If you are anxiously attached, we are really thinking our thoughts are facts, but they are not. We're only focusing on the negatives, jumping to conclusions. So it's important to challenge ourselves. Step 3, nourish your own needs. So identify what they have provided for you. Who have they been for you? Have they provided comfort or reassurance or validation or fun or excitement? And give this part to yourself now. So if you relied on them to calm your nerves after a stressful day, practice breath work or call a supportive friend, or ask yourself, how can you make yourself feel calm right now? If they always validated your feelings, validate yourself right now. And step number 4, build your next chapter. Instead of counting the days of no contact, count your days of a new chapter, of a new start. See this as an opportunity instead of as a loss. Invest in your future with new goals and experiences when you're ready to. For example, sign up for a new class, plan a new trip, launch a new project you've been putting off for years, start a new hobby, something new that excites you. And you might not feel excited about this right now, but over time, you might find something that really fills your cup and that will actually help you also when you start a new relationship eventually. Avoidance process slowly, often after you've already begun your healing journey. By focusing on yourself, you recover faster, deeper, and it gives you power, while they quietly work through they're locked safe of their own emotions. And important, don't wait for them. Don't make this whole thing like, okay, I'm going to wait and pause my healing journey until it's like 4 months later to see if they will reach out, to see if they actually like me. Because I think this will be the biggest mistake for you. Allow yourself to feel it and heal in the meantime. And also ask yourself, do you actually want them back? What would have to change if you would want to go back into that relationship? And again, check out the free resources in the attachment library. There's a quiz if you want to check out your attachment style. There's a worry-free flowchart and guide and all of these things. Thank you so much for being here with me. And remember, change in your relationship starts with you, thought by thought, action by action, and now episode by episode.